Sicuramente anche la collaborazione appassionata e spassionata tra due istituzioni come quella tra Pallium India e la Catholic Health Association of India, una collaborazione che dura da decenni, ma che recentemente, grazie anche al progetto PALLIFE, ha compiuto qualche passo ulteriore, formalizzandosi in una in Memorandum of Understanding, in una dichiarazione di intenti e in una Declaration of Kochi. Very few, yes, very briefly, very few minutes. Thank you.
We are very proud of our collaboration and Memorandum of Understanding with Catholic Health Association of India, the largest network of healthcare except for the government in the country. We are just waiting to get started as soon as the CHA is ready, and I believe that has the potential within a year or two to remove such a huge chunk of suffering from our country, and I hope that can work elsewhere also. Thank you very much for your interest in that collaboration, and thank you Father Matthew and Dr. Joby for the willingness to work in collaboration. Thank you.
Grazie, ora introduciamo gli altri due relatori, sono i redattori, i chair del processo scientifico che ha portato alla produzione del white paper che è stato inserito anche nelle vostre cartelle, e quindi cedo la parola per la prima parte della presentazione del white paper a Carlo Centeno, direttore del Centro di Cure Palliative della Clinica Università di Navarra, Pamplona, Spagna.
Gracias, doctoresa Comoreto. Buenas tardes a todos ustedes. No voy a hablar en español. I will speak in English, but this is only to get your attention because we are at the end of the day. So, at the end of the day, but perhaps a very important moment, because we are going to launch this white paper for global palliative care advocacy from the Academy of Life in the Vatican. And I think that this is a very important moment for all of us. What is the PALLIFE group? The PALLIFE group is an advisor group of the Academy of Life in the Vatican. The mission of this group is to inform and to offer guidance and advice in promoting palliative care all over from the Vatican. And this is very harmonic with the mission of the Academy of Life. The members of this group are people working in palliative care, experts, and very well-known advocators, people that work for advocacy of all around the world. The names are Samuel Sarafi from Egypt, Eduardo Bruera, United States, Emmanuel Luirica, Uganda, in representation of all Africa, Daniela Musoy from its countries, Catherine Petus from United States, and also for the International Association for Hospice and Palliative Care, the very well-known Christina Buczarski, that is here too, Rajo Gapal, Thomas Site from Germany, Sister Jean Jong from Korea, and also Mari Callaway and Cathy Foley, that I know very well that they are following this session by streaming now. So, people from all regions, from different backgrounds, with different spiritual beliefs, because there are people from many religious or not at all religion. The first meeting, it was in April 2017, here in Rome, in the Academy of Life. In that meeting, we decide what will be the basic strategy for this group, and also we decided 2 actions. The first one, it was to write this white paper for advocacy, and also recommend to the Academy to celebrate this big event, this meeting here in Roma that we are finishing today. The picture is from that meeting. We report the results of this first meeting in one academic journal, in the Journal of Palliative Medicine. It's curious to know that the letter that we sent from the Academy was accepted in almost few days, 2-3 days, and was accepted without any change. This is a good news because the interest of the world of palliative care about this group is very clear with this action. What is the white paper? The white paper is a position statement of the Academy of Life and represent the most important recommendation that from the Academy we can do for different stakeholders group involved in global palliative care development. About the methods that we use for this recommendation, first we discuss in the group about what will be the best method to use, and after that we decide a list of stakeholders, and we choose one person from each of these stakeholders, and the person writes several recommendations for that stakeholder. Each recommendation is one statement, and the rationale of that statement and the bibliography. That's the recommendation. And each expert recommends several issues, several things for that stakeholders. After that, we have one consensus process by email, and finally, we ranking the main recommendation. And then we have different version of this white paper that we are going to present today is the brief version, only with the statement, with the 13 statement of this recommendation. But in the next future, that we will have is different version of this white paper, one for one scientific journal, and another with all the recommendations for the public and for the Academy. Then 13 groups, 43 recommendations. The group consider all the recommendations of the highest importance. No one recommendation was put out of the list. And finally, the highest recommendation was selected as the main one in the brief version that we are going to present today here. Liliana?
6 minutes. Well done. Okay, so I will tell you and I will go over the recommendations. Again, my name is Liliana de Lima. I am the Executive Director of the International Association for Hospice and Palliative Care. IHPC is an organization with a global mandate, and we are in formal relations with the WHO and also in consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. So hopefully we can use these recommendations to advocate for better global policy as well as national policy. So now we'll go over the recommendations to stakeholders. This is the first one for policymakers, and what we came up was recognize the social and ethical value of palliative care, and modify the existing healthcare structures, policies, and outcome measures to ensure universal access to palliative care for all patients in need. We will do the delivery afterwards, right? This is the one for the universities and academia. All universities offering degrees in healthcare-related fields should include mandatory palliative care courses as part of the undergraduate curricula. This is the recommendation for pharmacists.
Pharmacists should be able to prepare compounded opioid formulations and find ways to make them available and accessible for the patient, especially for children, where it's young, the elderly, and where there are no generic or cheaper formulations available in the country. We're very concerned about the high prices. The recommendation for professional associations and societies to become effective advocates and work with their governments in the process of implementing international policy framework, including conventions, resolutions, and declarations in the countries. Examples include the WHPCA resolution from 2014, universal healthcare coverage, the Sustainable Development Goals, that's the Agenda 2030, and the WHO roadmap on non-communicable diseases. International organizations should encourage WHO member states to develop policies and procedures to implement the WHO resolution as an integral part of their strategies to implement the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, paying specific attention to the needs of children and older persons. Beautiful, huh? I like them. Religious institutions and spiritual groups advocate for the inclusion of spiritual care in palliative care on the local, state, and country levels. Ensure development of professional spiritual care providers or chaplains and their employment stability in healthcare settings. Hospitals and healthcare centers. Every hospital and healthcare center should ensure affordable access to palliative care medicines included in the WHO model list of essential medicines, particularly to opioid analgesics, such as morphine. Did you know it's included as an essential medicine? Patients and patients groups. There needs to be a health literacy campaign to increase the understanding of palliative care and the role in the decision-making process for all patients with palliative care needs and their families. So it's about empowering the patients. Healthcare workers. Healthcare professionals working in palliative care should receive appropriate certification while actively participating in continuing education to maintain the adequate competency levels. A lot of these may seem what we have already said, but I think the way that they're enunciated is quite strong. Philanthropic organizations and charities should support palliative care development and implementation. No more Pallilalia. We need Palli funding. So, recommended areas of funding include increase in palliative care education and training, adequate policies, improving availability and access to opioid analgesics, and then raising public awareness about the palliative care benefits and the needs. Other non-palliative care professional associations and societies is to encourage human rights organizations to take into account existing declarations and implement strategies whose aim is to advancing palliative care development worldwide within the human rights framework. So palliative care is a component of the right to health. Thank you.